Welcome, welcome back, my dear students. Silk Road by Nick Middleton, Part 1. This is the 8th chapter in your book. This is the prose, and this is going to be the last chapter for this year from prose section. So let us start this new chapter. You can see there is a picture of the author. He is a British physical geographer and supernumerary fellow of St. Anne's College, Oxford. He specializes in desertification. Nick Middleton was born in London, England. As a geographer, he has traveled to more than 50 countries. His academic role is supplemented by his work as an environmental consultant and freelance author, having written more than 200 articles in journals, magazines, and newspapers, and 16 books. He has also co-written and edited another 9 volumes. Let me introduce the chapter. The author chronicles the challenges and hardships he faced in the Silk Road regions as they are now. The reader finds it refreshing to traverse such vast tracts of physical geography, expanses of the natural world that remain largely untamed. As a trade route, the Silk Road has been less a single highway and more a network of overland routes linking Europe with Asia, making trade possible between those with a passion for silk, horses, and exotic fauna and flora. Just about every transaction imaginable has occurred along its many trails over the centuries. Middleton's particular passion consists of exposing himself to nature's vicissitudes like facing oxygen starvation in Tibet as he climbs towards the navel of the universe, and other hardships during the journey. The author is an adventurer, but at heart more a meticulous academic than a daredevil. Researching the different forms of altitude sickness, he is alarmed to discover it can lead to swelling of the brain or to the lungs slowly filling with fluid. This account of the Silk Road, with its contrast and exotic detail, certainly describes the challenges and hardships Middleton faced. However, if he had sacrificed some of the sense of his own heroism and introduced instead more of a sense of wonder or of the absurd, the book would have proved more entertaining to read. So let me continue with the summary part of this chapter. The protagonist wanted to go to Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. He hired Satan to drive him up to Mount Kailash as a farewell gift. Lamo gave him a long-sleeved sheepskin coat. He took Daniel as his companion till Darshan. When they started the journey, Satan took a shortcut to the southwest, which was a direct route to Mount Kailash. They had to cross high mountain passes to reach their destination. Satan assured him that it would be no problem if there would be no snow. They crossed through the gazelles, a herd of wild asses, and shepherds tending their flocks. When they reached at the hill, they passed dark tents which were home for nomads. He saw a Tibetan mastiff standing outside the tent as a guard. These mastiffs ran after his car as he reached near the tents. These dogs had large jaws. As soon as they entered the valley, they witnessed snow-capped mountains with rivers flowing which were blocked with ice. When they were riding through the hill, the turns became sharper and roads became bumpier. Satan was driving in third gear. The protagonist could feel the pressure in his ears. He held his nose, snorted to clear the congestion. He checked his wristwatch. They were at 5,210 meters above sea level. They reached their first hurdle, which was a road filled with snow. Satan threw dirt on the snow and drove carefully on that road. They resumed their journey. The protagonist felt his head was hurting. He took a few sips of water from his water bottle. They were still climbing up the hill. They reached at 5,515 meters above sea level. They stopped again, and this time the fuel tank hissed when Satan unscrewed the top, as the petrol was expanding due to low atmospheric pressure. Satan told him not to smoke around it. Soon in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, they stopped for lunch. The protagonist's headache was gone by now. By late afternoon, they reached a small town called Ho. They reached the east-west highway again. It was the old route from Lhasa to Kashmir. Daniel got off the car and took a lift to Lhasa. Their car had a few punctures which worried Satan. He got them fixed, and the protagonist waited at a local cafe of Hor while having a glass of tea. He found Hor a miserable place. After a while, Satan reached to him, and they resumed their journey again. At night around 10:30 p.m., they stopped at a guest house in Darshan to spend the night. The protagonist got ill and suffered from nose congestion due to the change in altitude and cold weather. He stayed awake all night. Next morning, Satan took him to Tibetan Medical College, where he consulted a Tibetan doctor who gave him a 5-day course medicines in a brown envelope. After taking a full day of medicine, the protagonist was feeling good. Satan left him thereafter, assuring his health condition. The protagonist was staying at Darshan. That place had a general store where Chinese cigarettes, soap, and other things were available. In the afternoon, the men gathered at a shabby table to play pool every day. Women would wash their hair in the narrow stream. Darshan had one problem: it had no pilgrims. According to the local people, in the peak season of pilgrimage, the place would be filled with travelers. He met a person in the Darshan's only cafe. His name was Norbu, who was a Tibetan working in Beijing at the Institute of Ethnic Literature of Chinese, Academy of Social Science. He came to Darshan to complete the Korah just like the protagonist. He was fat and found it difficult to walk. The protagonist decided to go on the pilgrimage with him. They hired yaks to carry their luggage. Norbu finally said it is not possible for him while he collapsed across the table and laughed hilariously. His tummy was also too big. So this is the summary, and in the next video I will start the chapter line by line explanation. I hope you have understood the chapter, and now I request you to read it at home. So till then, thank you very much. Thank you for watching.